What if the most powerful force for change was not strength, not anger, but something else? What if peace, compassion, and understanding could change the world more profoundly than violence ever could? Today, on International Day of Nonviolence, we explore a philosophy that transcends time, race, ethnicity, and geography, a philosophy that reminds us that the path of nonviolence is not a weak option, but a powerful and sustainable one. Welcome to a journey through the middle path of nonviolence. The philosophy of nonviolence, or ahimsa as it was originally called, is ancient. It dates back to the teachings of great Indian thinkers like Mahavira and the Buddha, long before it became a political movement. Rooted in the spiritual understanding that all living beings deserve respect, ahimsa emphasizes a deep connection between how we treat others and how we cultivate inner peace. Buddha's middle path, an approach that advocates balance and avoidance of extremes, was a central philosophy that emphasized compassion, self-control, and moderation. His teachings were instrumental in promoting peace and harmony, and this philosophy later inspired political leaders to embrace nonviolence as a strategy for change. Nonviolence became more than just a personal philosophy. It shaped entire civilizations and transformed political landscapes. One of the earliest and most significant examples of this philosophy shaping a nation came more than 2,000 years ago through Emperor Ashoka of India, known as the greatest among the great emperors of the world. Initially known for his ruthless conquests, Ashoka's rule was marked by violence, particularly during the Kalinga War, where thousands of lives were lost. However, this immense bloodshed led to a profound transformation in Ashoka. After witnessing the horrors of war, Ashoka embraced Buddhism and vowed to rule not by force but through peace. His conversion marked a revolutionary shift, a state-led model of nonviolence for governance. Ashoka's policies were guided by Buddha's teachings on compassion and respect for all living beings. Instead of expanding his empire through war, Ashoka expanded it through diplomacy and the spread of Buddhist values. Ashoka's reign demonstrates how a ruler, guided by the principles of nonviolence, can govern an entire empire with compassion, offering a lasting legacy that continues to inspire leaders today. Much later in the modern times, India's struggle for independence from British rule under Mahatma Gandhi is perhaps the most well-known example. Gandhi's principle of satyagraha, holding firmly to the truth, was not only a protest against colonial power, but also a moral stance that violence could never lead to lasting peace. Gandhi's nonviolent movement resonated across India's social and political fabric, garnering support from millions and eventually bringing the British Empire to its knees. Inspired by Gandhi, Dr. King fought against racial injustice and segregation using peaceful resistance. His marches, speeches, and sit-ins were instrumental in dismantling institutionalized racism in the U.S. While many believed that violence was necessary to achieve such a monumental change, Dr. King's approach, using nonviolence to awaken the moral conscience of a nation, proved otherwise. The philosophy of nonviolence has transcended borders, cultures, and ethnicities. In South Africa, Nelson Mandela, though initially resorting to armed resistance, eventually realized that reconciliation and nonviolent negotiation were the only ways to achieve lasting peace in a post-apartheid era. His leadership in creating a peaceful transition to democracy without large-scale civil war remains one of the most powerful examples of the global impact of nonviolence. In modern times, people around the globe have adopted peaceful resistance as a form of civil disobedience. The strategy remains timeless because it is based on an undeniable truth: violence breeds more violence, while nonviolence opens the doors for dialogue, empathy, and lasting solutions. Governments and leaders have realized that nonviolence is more than just a tool for protest. It can guide governance itself. The post-World War II establishment of institutions like the United Nations was grounded in the idea of global peace and conflict resolution through diplomacy. Today, the philosophy of nonviolence is reflected in peace treaties, diplomatic negotiations, and even conflict resolution processes within international organizations. From Nelson Mandela's peaceful negotiations to South Africa's transition, to the international humanitarian movements led by figures like Mother Teresa, Governance in many parts of the world today continues to be guided by these principles of peaceful dialogue and compromise, echoing the middle path of nonviolence. Nonviolence is not limited to grand political movements or historical revolutions. It lives in the everyday choices we make. Whether it's resolving personal conflicts without aggression or addressing social inequalities with empathy and compassion, we are all capable of embodying the middle path. Today, countless community leaders, social justice advocates, and activists continue to follow in the footsteps of past non-violent movements, fighting for change in ways that transcend violence. Non-violence is immortal. It's a flame that keeps burning, unquenchable by time, geography, or race. Whether in the hands of individuals or leaders, it continues to light the way toward peace and justice. In an increasingly polarized world, the middle path of nonviolence offers a way out of the chaos. It's about balance, between action and inaction, between strength and compassion. It calls for finding common ground, understanding opposing views, and advocating for justice without perpetuating the cycle of harm. As we celebrate International Day of Nonviolence, remember that true strength lies not in force, but in restraint. It lies in choosing peace even when the world pushes you toward conflict. The middle path is not the easiest route, but it is the most sustainable, the most just, and the most transformative. Today, we are called to walk the middle path, to fight for what we believe in, but to do so with compassion, patience, and love. Many people question that nonviolence is made for the weak and is a passive stance. Remember, nonviolence is not a passive stance. It is an active choice to build bridges rather than walls. It is the foundation upon which we can create a more just, peaceful, and harmonious world. It takes more courage to not choose the path of violence. But some of you might be wondering, what if someone attacks me? What if I'm in a situation of life and death? Shouldn't I defend myself with force in such circumstances? These are valid questions. Nonviolence does not mean you should remain defenseless in the face of physical danger or harm. It is not about being passive in life-threatening situations. Instead, it calls for us to think deeply about how and when we use force, and whether there are alternatives that can prevent harm before violence is necessary. This is just the beginning of the conversation. In the second part of this video, we will explore in detail when and how to practice nonviolence in our daily lives. We will also address those extreme situations where life and safety are at risk, and discuss how to navigate them while staying true to the core principles of nonviolence. So ask yourself, how will you embrace the middle path today? How will you make the world a better place without violence, without harm, but with the strength of peace? Let this day be a reminder. Nonviolence is the way forward, and together we can change the world.